Hey guys, it's Laptop Laura, and this is Copy That Pops. Writing tips and psychology hacks applied to online biz success.
Here we go.
On August 27th, 2021 at 5 p.m. Eastern, that's about 2 p.m. my time in California, Gary Vee went live on YouTube and Instagram to announce a 24-hour only opportunity to his millions of fans and followers involving NFTs in exchange for buying his new book. By the following day, his book 12 and a Half, Leveraging the Emotional Ingredients Necessary for Business Success, was the #1 best-selling book across all of Amazon around the world while still on pre-sale. It also sold so many that Barnes & Noble even broke down for a lot of us trying to buy copies. Now, as I record this in mid-September, the book is no longer #1 in all of Amazon. That's how rankings work, actually. They change almost hourly. But there is a lot that we authors can learn from what Gary did to promote his book. But let me back up and define a few things for you. First of all, who is Gary Vee? Gary Vaynerchuk is a Belarusian-American entrepreneur, author, speaker, and internet personality. He started working for his father's liquor store when he was 14 and eventually grew that business from $3 to about $60 million in revenue. But he's now most known for his work in digital marketing and social media. He's the chairman of New York-based communications company VaynerX and the CEO of Vayner Media. He's also working on a ton more companies. There's just way too many to name. But he's got clients like Pepsi and Anheuser-Busch, so not just small mom and pop shops. How about NFT? What is that? So it stands for non-fungible token, and you may have heard this term floated around a lot lately. It's all the rage in the cryptosphere. Skeptics call it just buying JPEgs. My in-laws call it a Ponzi scheme. But what it really is a digital collectible tied to a smart contract that cannot be destroyed. So who created it? Who bought it first, which is called minting? Who sold it and when? What price did the third owner who bought it pay? All this and more is recorded on the blockchain. And a blockchain is just like a digital ledger of transactions recorded on multiple computers around the world so that no one person or entity can alter the records. Oh, and the word non-fungible is just a confusing way of saying unique. So if you were to trade $1 for another $1, you would not have changed anything. No value really was altered. So dollars are fungible. But if you trade one cryptopunk's token for one curiocard's token, you have very much changed things. Look up both of those in OpenSea.io. if you want to have a look at the artwork. I'll put links into the show notes for those. But these are non-fungible in that they are unique. Now, NFTs, it's a big deal. It's a wave of the future, if you ask me. And if this is your first time hearing about it, I really think you should put in some hours to research and learn more. Don't just read the headlines or listen to someone's opinion who's poo-pooing it, even though they've never actually dived in. It will and already is affecting everything that we do in life. So don't be an old fuddy-duddy and just say it's some silly trend these kids are into these days. It's not. For the sake of this conversation and to help you wrap your head a little bit more about what an NFT is and make it more clear, let's look at a few examples. So currently, one of the most popular and expensive projects out there is called Bored Ape Yacht Club, often abbreviated as BAYC. So these are pieces of digital art of apes with different facial expressions, backgrounds, and accessories. The cheapest one, as I record this, is currently priced at 33.5 ETH, or Ethereum. And that in today's dollars, we say Ethereum is around $3,500 per ETH. That's just over $117,000 for one JPEG. Now, there's no utility or ability to use this token that I'm aware of, but it is a smart contract. Things can change, things can be added. And I do also know that the owners of these BAYC tokens do often get airdropped or rewarded with additional tokens that also have value because they are in such demand by the market. So that's an example of where just the art itself is at the forefront. Another example, NFT.NYC, is the leading conference on the topic of NFTs that's held each year in New York City. And as we might expect, the ticket to get in is an NFT. Using NFTs as tickets into an event in real life is an easy example to wrap our heads around the potential utility of a token. Mark Cuban, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, recently said on a podcast interview that tickets to all future Mavs games would be tokenized as well. Now, a third example, let's bring it back to Gary Vee and see how NFTs can actually both be used as utility and as the artwork themselves with the project VeeFriends. So Gary Vee jumped into the NFT space in May of 2021. His project is called VeeFriends, and it comes with access to his new VeeCon conference, which is happening in 2022, 23, and 24. So his tokens do come with real utility. There is no way that anyone can enter the conference unless they own an NFT token. They are not selling tickets separately. And some tokens also have direct access to him or in groups. And some tokens of higher value also have direct access to Gary himself, either in groups or in one-on-one sessions. For example, there's something called the courtside cat. So it's a picture of a cat with a basketball, and that gives you access to a courtside game at the New York Knicks with Gary. But beyond the utility of using these tokens, where the other big promise from Gary lies is in the IP of the characters or in the intellectual property of the characters themselves that he has drawn. So he plans to turn his drawings for the tokens into the next Disney. Imagine if you owned the original drawing of Mickey Mouse. Do you think that would be worth something today? That's what holders of VeeFriends are counting on. That in the coming year, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, these characters are going to have a big deal as Gary turns them into books and movies and amusement parks and streetwear and so much more. So back to our story about Gary selling over 1 million books in 24 hours. Starting in early 2021, Gary told his followers to buy up Ethereum when it was about in the $1,400 to $1,800 range. Then, for months before his launch of his project, Gary educated his audience on NFTs, the blockchain, what wallets like MetaMask are, and how to set them up to be ready to buy NFTs and more. Then, Gary launched his VeeFriends in May of 2021. For the majority of his 10,255 tokens that he sold in May, you could have bought them for 0.5 Ethereum to 3 Ethereum. In today's value, that's about $1,750 to $10,500. If we say ETH is around $3,500. But as I record this 4 months later, the cheapest VeeFriend that you can buy is now 18 ETH, or about $63,000. That's a 36x return. So if you put in $1,750, it's now worth about $63,000 just 4 months later. And Gary swears he's just getting started. Flash forward to the book offer. Gary went live on a Friday afternoon in the summer to say that for every 12 books someone purchased in the next 24 hours, she or he would receive one surprise NFT after the books shipped out in November. And this isn't necessarily a VeeFriend that they would get, but kind of like a VeeFriends 1.0 version. The exact details are unknown. It's a surprise. But after seeing what he did with VeeFriends in just 4 months, true fans jumped at the chance to buy up lots of books and be eligible for multiple surprises in November. Hence, selling over 1 million copies in 24 hours. Now let's look at some takeaways of this case study. I personally don't have as big of an audience as Gary, and likely you listening don't either. So maybe selling 1 million books in 24 hours is something unattainable for us right now. Nevertheless, we can employ his tactics to a scale that works for us. Here are 6 takeaways. Number 1, give true value to your audience, not just sales promos. So Gary taught people all about crypto and the NFT world for months and months and months. He still is doing it to this day. Gary shared tips on other projects too that he thought looked solid, like World of Women and curiocard. His fans made tens if not hundreds of thousands of dollars off of his tips in just a matter of weeks or months. Number 2, let true fans in on things before the general public. So Gary created a Discord, which is like a giant chat room, where he shared those special tips and tricks and info completely for free, but only with true fans who took the time to join in and follow the conversation. I'll include a link out to that Discord channel in the show notes too. Number 3, follow through on what you promised that you will do. So Gary went out of his way to make sure true fans got first crack at his NFT drop before whales, as we call them, with big bank accounts could swoop in and buy everything up. And he's already been working hard to make VeeFriends grow in value around the IP, even aside from the conference access. Number 4, stay connected real time. Gary doesn't just promote and then ghost his audience. He stays actively involved. This builds that know, like, and trust factor. Number 5, recognize that you need to build your reputation and that it takes time. Gary has been building rapport and trust for years and years and years. He didn't just emerge out of nowhere and expect people to trust him. You have to have patience and you have to build. And number 6, use cutting-edge technology and trends. So Gary is jumping on the wave of crypto and NFTs early. It's still early. So take the time to learn more and see how you can incorporate it into your business, whether that's around books or otherwise. So some questions to think about. How can we actually make our books themselves NFTs? Could someone buy our book as an NFT and then be able to resell it later? Maybe for even more than they paid for it? Could you offer a golden ticket NFT with special access to you, say a yearly coffee meetup or a bowling trip or some virtual coaching calls? Could purchasers of a certain number of books get an NFT bonus that comes with some special perks? Long story short, there is so much to be learned by watching Gary and following in his footsteps when it comes to books, business, and NFTs. If you want to learn and see more, I'm attaching links to everything that I mentioned here about Gary's incredible book frenzy in the show notes. And if you're wondering, I will have a crap ton of books in my garage come November. When Gary speaks, I believe. When you speak, I hope your audience believes too. So share with me your thoughts on this episode or any project that you're working on. I'm at Laptop Laura on all the socials, including Gary Vee's Discord. Or shoot me an email at laura@copythatpops.com. Also, fun fact, I'll be speaking at She Podcasts Live next month in Scottsdale, Arizona. My talk is called How to Easily Turn Your Podcast into a Best-Selling Book and Truly Position Yourself as a Leader. I hope to see you there if you are a fellow podcaster. And in the meantime, keep on finding ways to write copy that pops. Thanks so much for listening. Let's keep the conversation going. You can find more at copythatpops.com, and I'm at Laptop Laura on all the socials.
Sometimes we fall.